Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Andrew, and we are the IB English Guys. And today, we want to talk about how to establish a line of inquiry for the higher level essay. Mr. Giles, why are we doing this video?
Well, we've done a lot of videos about the higher level essay in which we gave you a line of inquiry. That was the final product. And today we want to talk about the process of how we arrive at that line of inquiry.
Looking at that metacognitive process is often difficult to understand, and we're going to do it for you today. All right, Mr. Giles, in this 12 to 1500 word higher level essay, what are some of the components of a good line of inquiry that we need in ours?
Yeah, aside from the question word and the title and the author, we want to think about the literary or linguistic perspective and establish that in our line of inquiry, and we want to connect that to a rich idea.
Yeah, of course you want to have the author, the genre, the name of the text, context if possible. What do you say we take a look at some of the ones we've explored in earlier videos, and we'll light this up.
That sounds
I'll
great.
take the first one, Mr. Giles. How and to what effect does Ariel Dorfman's characterization of Paulina in the play Death and the Maiden illustrate the struggle for freedom in a post-dictatorship? Light it up, Giles.
Okay, first of all, we've got the question word, we've got the author title, but we're going to focus on the characterization of Paulina. I like that. That's a clear, again, literary perspective. And more importantly, I would say, is that we're talking about the struggle for freedom in a post-dictatorship. So there's our rich idea.
Yeah, we got the context as well. Let's try the other one in another video we did, Giles. It's how does Konstantin Cavafy utilize spatial proximity in his poetry to illustrate the oppression of homosexual men in late 19th and early 20th century Egypt? Light it up.
Wow, great specificity. I really like this one. Spatial proximity is a very interesting literary perspective, literary aspect. And again, it's dealing with a global issue and that oppression of homosexual men in the 20th century. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, again, folks, the higher level essay must link a literary or linguistic aspect to a rich idea. So both of these lines of inquiry have accomplished that task. Giles, what do you say we try to develop one of our own? You ready?
That's great. And I think, again, the way that we do this is by asking questions. And these are questions that you can ask yourself. You can look at the handout down below. But I think also you can have somebody else pepper you with the questions to get you to think about it.
Yeah, it's really great. You know, you've read these texts with your entire class, with your teacher. It's nice to sit down with somebody else who's an expert in the text and have this great academic conversation that'll help you generate ideas. What do you say, Giles? You ready?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's give it a try. Here
Folks,
we go.
this isn't rehearsed. Here we go. We're just going to see what happens. All right, Giles. We've studied a lot together in the last 2 years. What's a text that you love? And I'm going to be writing down some of his ideas to help me ask better questions.
A text I love, I brought the book. It's called
That part we
Sing,
planned.
Unburied Sing. This is a powerful novel by Jesmond Ward. This really spoke to me, and I think this is the text I'd like to choose.
All right, I love that text as well. Now, Giles, there's so many thematic ideas that she presents. What are some of the main ideas of the text that really resonate with you?
Yeah. I think the ones that resonate with me are drug addiction, parental neglect.
Parental neglect. Got it.
Systemic racism.
Ooh, yeah. Systemic racism. Yep.
And the idea of generational trauma.
Ooh, good one.
These are, I think, really powerful. I got to add one more is poverty.
All right, so I've jotted these down,
Those are 5
folks.
ideas.
That's 5. Now, Mr. Giles, it's a great text, but you can't have 5 ideas in your higher level essay. So of those 5 ideas, drug addiction, parental neglect, systemic racism, generational trauma, and poverty, which one do you, remember, you're going to spend some time with this work, so which one do you love? Which topic do you love here?
Well, one that I learned about in more specific terms was generational trauma, and I read an interview with Jesmond Ward, and she talks about this, and it really stuck with me. It really made me think about racism and how that's a legacy that people carry with them.
All right, I'm going to write that word legacy down. I like that as well. All right, Giles. Now, you're talking about generational trauma, the legacy. Now, we need to think about the text now. What are some moments of the text that really portray this idea of generational trauma?
Okay, so
Just specific moments.
I think throughout the novel we hear Pop telling stories, and he tells stories to Jojo, his grandson. And in those stories are many examples of the trauma that he felt in the past as he's telling Jojo about it. I think that's important.
I like that one. Pop storytelling. I think that's okay. The motif of story. Any other moments?
I also see the presence of Gibbon's ghost. Gibbon is a young man who suffered a violent death, and we see his appearance throughout the text. And I think the appearance of his ghost is definitely evidence of trauma that people feel.
Okay, I like this idea of the ghost. We got the stories with JoJo. Any other moments in the text that you can think of that just jump out at you with generational trauma? Remember, we're on generational trauma.
Another ghost is Richie, and we see clear references to generational trauma through the appearance of Richie's ghost. Again, in the latter half of the text, his ghost really plays a really dominant role. And we also see this idea of singing, because he's singing in the text, and this singing, I think, is really connected to the idea of the sort of haunting voices of the ghosts of the past.
Okay, here's our keywords so far. We've got generational trauma, we've got racism, we've got ghosts, we've got singing, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'd like you to choose one. You've given me 3 really awesome moments of the text. We've got pop storytelling with JoJo, Given, and the ghost, and Richie of the ghost. I'd like to pick one moment, like of these 3, which one you really want to dive into and look at language.
Yeah, I would say, let's look at Richie's ghost, and this would be...
That's in the end of the novel,
yeah,
isn't
this
it?
would be right around chapter 13, which is like page 247. We
All
see
right.
this whole chapter is
Hold
about...
up, I'm there. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
with
so JoJo's the narrator, and Richie the ghost is with him, and this is in the same chapter that Richie's death is described by his grandfather. So this is really a powerful moment.
you. Yeah, now Mr. Giles, Jessamine Ward is a powerful writer, and we talk about signature moves and things that writers do. What are some of the key authorial choices that we talked about with our teacher in class that maybe you see in this particular extract?
Well, I think this is a realistic scene where we see a grandson and his grandfather, and they're having a discussion about the past, but then it has this whole magical element with the ghost.
I heard the words realistic and magical.
Yeah,
Work
so
with me.
it's again this sort of idea of magic realism that Jessamine Ward is using. And I think magic realism is a really interesting element in the novel because we see the ghosts, and I think they're very interesting to talk about.
All right, I'm going to push you a little bit here. You're talking about magic realism. You're also talking about singing and ghosts. Can we assign a literary feature or a literary aspect to that word of ghost and singing?
Well, we see that singing is a motif throughout the text. So, I mean, it's called Sing Unburied Sing. So we see the whole idea of the unburied being the ghosts. So we see that motif of singing being quite prominent.
All right, Giles, this is great. We've really drilled down. Let me give you some keywords, and we're going to try and build a sentence. You ready for some keywords?
All right, here we
Keywords,
go.
we've got ideas: generational trauma, racism, ghost, singing, magic realism, motif. Our author's Jessamine Ward.
Okay. All right. So I think first of all, we're going to talk
Hold
about...
up, I'm going to type this out.
All right. So we're going to think about... we need our question word.
Yep.
How. I like the how question.
I like
how and to what effect.
Yeah, we might as well do the effect as
How
well.
and to what effect does Jessamine Ward utilize magic realism?
All right.
I like the singing and the motif of singing. They go together.
They do,
because
don't
the
they?
ghosts are singing. So I think we can talk about both of those things. So magic realism and the motif of singing.
To illustrate what? She illustrates the idea
Well, that to illustrate the generational trauma.
Illustrate generational trauma.
Now I need to define. So felt by many contemporary African American communities.
All right, here's what we got so far. And we're gonna have to wordsmith this, guys. It doesn't just come out. We're teachers. It doesn't just come out. How and to what effect does Jessamine Ward use magic realism and the motif of singing? Hey, is this a novel? Is this a play? What's this thing called?
Oh yeah, it's a novel. We need to see the title.
In the novel,
Sing Unburied Sing.
Okay. To illustrate the generational trauma felt by contemporary African American communities. Mr. Giles, read it back to yourself and tell me if you're happy with it. There it is, the whole thing.
Yeah, I like it. I think Jessamine Ward would again, I want to think about, would she agree with this? Is this an appropriate line of inquiry? And I think, having read some of her interviews, this is essentially a key idea that she wants to convey among many others. There's not just one idea conveyed in any text.
Yeah, folks, I just want to put it through our test. We've got question words, how and to what effect. We've got the author, Jessamine Ward. We've got broad linguistic or literary aspects, magic realism, motif of singing. We have the text type, novel. We have the name of the work, Sing Unburied Sing. We have a rich idea, generational trauma felt by, and we have the precise context, modern African American communities. Mr. Giles, I dare say that this meets all the requirements of our line of inquiry that we've established.
Cool. That was that. And again, it's fun to come up with that. But again, we could probably, if we peel it back, we could look at another idea and peel it back and think about the same question.
Yeah,
so we can
folks.
come up with different lines of inquiry based on those ideas that
guys,
I found interesting.
Teachers and students, please note this has taken us about 10 minutes. I would encourage you to do this multiple times until you really find one that you love and you're willing to spend some time with, because ultimately it's a 1,500-word essay that you're going to be working on for a while. Okay, folks, in closing, we hope that this video sort of pulled back the hood a little bit and showed you what's processed the metacognitive thinking to craft a line of inquiry for the higher level essay. Please stay with the channel. Let us know in the comments what you need. We'll keep responding to your messages and providing videos for you.
And please like the video if you liked it. Share it with others. And subscribe, because we really want to keep this alive. We want to keep the project alive. And if you made it to the end of the video, congratulations.
You're in the minority. Thanks, guys.
Again, thanks so much, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Thanks, guys. Take care.